The hum of the air conditioner was the only sound in Olivia's living room. Amelia rested her cheek against the cool linen of the sofa cushion, the rhythmic rise and fall of her chest a practice performance. The last of the afternoon light, honey-thick and lazy, slanted through the blinds, painting stripes across the discarded wrapping paper and satin bows from the bridal luncheon. The air still smelled of her grandmother's rosemary shortbread, an expensive perfume. She had orchestrated every detail of this day for Laura, her sister in everything but blood. The perfect playlist, the peach-colored peonies imported from Oregon, the miniature champagne flutes. Her feet ached in the heels she'd worn for 12 hours straight. But now, feigning sleep, her world had shrunk to the murmur of voices from the kitchen. A conversation not meant for her ears. "She's finally down," Laura's voice floated out, tinged with a relief that felt like a shard of glass. "I thought she'd never stop. It's like she's inspecting a military parade, not a party." Amelia's blood turned cold. She and Laura had built a life of shared secrets since they were 6 years old, trading friendship bracelets under the old oak on Elm Street. She had curated this day as a love letter to their history. But the voice from the kitchen was painting a different picture. One where her love felt like a weight. Amelia and Laura's friendship was a foundational truth of her life, as constant as the Georgia pines outside their childhood windows. They had navigated first heartbreaks in tandem, crying over pints of ice cream in Laura's basement. They had cheered each other through college finals, and 3 years ago, Amelia had been the one to hold Laura's hand through the silent, hollow hours after her mother's sudden passing. When Laura got engaged to Michael, Amelia felt the joy as her own. She dove into wedding planning with the strategic focus of a general, her maid of honor binder becoming a second shadow. She believed her relentless attention to detail was the ultimate language of love, a shield against any possible disappointment for her dearest friend. The luncheon had been, by all observable metrics, a masterpiece. The guests had raved about the curated menu. The light had fallen perfectly on the floral arrangements Amelia had spent a week sourcing. She had even quietly replaced the caterer's standard white napkins with the exact shade of blush Laura had once mentioned loving in a magazine. Every smile from Laura, every squeeze of her hand, Amelia had cataloged as proof of her successful stewardship of her friend's happiness. As the last guest left, a pleasant exhaustion had settled over her. She'd sunk onto the sofa just for a moment, to let the quiet satisfaction wash over her. That's when the voices began. "It's just relentless," Laura continued in the kitchen, her words a slow, cold drip. "Did you see her face when your aunt brought the lemon tart instead of the almond? Like it was a personal affront." "She means well," came the voice of Rachel, Laura's cousin. "It's just her way. But yeah, it's a lot. You can't even pick your own cake topper without her having 3 better options ready." Amelia's mind reeled. The cake topper, a delicate porcelain couple she'd found from an artisan in Vermont. Laura had hugged her and said it was more beautiful than anything she could have imagined. Had that been a lie? The lemon tart moment flashed back. She'd merely been concerned about Laura's nut allergy. Was vigilance now a crime? The clink of wine glasses punctuated the quiet. "I love her," Laura sighed, and Amelia's heart clenched with desperate hope. "But loving her is like being slowly curated. I'm starting to feel like an exhibit in The Perfect Wedding of Laura and Michael, as directed by Amelia." The words hung in the air, toxic and precise. I'm thinking of asking Gina to be my maid of honor instead." The sentence hit Amelia with physical force. Gina, Laura's sister, lived in Seattle. She sent funny texts but hadn't helped with a single detail. Because she wouldn't try to take over, Amelia's mind supplied, completing the horrible thought. She felt a hot tear trace, a path from her closed eye into her hairline, the salt a stark contrast to the sweet. celebratory air she had worked so hard to create. Amelia lay paralyzed, a statue of betrayal. The conversation in the kitchen flowed on, a river washing away the bedrock of her life. Laura spoke of the bachelorette weekend Amelia had planned, a detailed itinerary for Napa Valley. "I just wanted a lake house," Laura confessed, her voice thick with a frustration Amelia had never heard directed at her. "Somewhere to just be with you all." But she said that was underwhelming. She's already put down deposits. I feel hostage to her generosity. Each word was a twist of the knife. The Napa plan was born from a memory. Laura, years ago, pointing to a photo of vineyards saying, "Wouldn't that be heaven?" Amelia had stored that away, a secret promise to fulfill. Now, it was evidence of her tyranny. She heard footsteps approach and forced her breathing into the deep, slow rhythm of sleep. Laura's shadow fell over her. "Amelia?" The voice was soft, the familiar, loving tone she knew. It was the greatest performance of Laura's life. "Hey, sleepyhead. You can't crash here all night." Amelia stirred, blinking as if disoriented. "Oh, wow. How long was I out?" "Not long. You worked so hard today." Laura's smile was warm, her eyes crinkling at the corners. It was a masterpiece of duplicity. It was perfect. Absolutely perfect. That word again. It now tasted of ash. "I should get going," Amelia said, her own voice sounding strange to her ears. "Let you have your evening." The ride home was a blur of streetlights and silent, shuddering tears. Her apartment, usually a sanctuary of order, felt like a museum of her own failings. The wedding binder sat on her desk like an accusation. She opened it, seeing none helpfulness but control. Color-coded tabs, vendor comparisons, timelines, it was the blueprint of her own overwhelming nature. Who was this person, whose love was experienced as a siege? For days, Amelia moved through her life like a ghost. She practiced restraint like a foreign language. When a coworker mentioned a problem, she bit back her immediate, detailed solution and simply said, "That sounds tough." The words felt hollow, inadequate. She didn't text Laura her usual morning greeting. The silence that followed was deafening, a void where their constant connection had lived. She visited her father, hoping for the uncomplicated wisdom he often offered. Sitting on his back porch, the scent of his tomato plants in the air, she asked, "Dad, do you think I smother people?" He put down his iced tea, his kind eyes studying her. "You love fiercely, honey. Your mother was the same way. She wanted to fix everything for everyone she loved. Sometimes people need to fix their own things, even if they make a mess of it. But how do you stop?" Her voice was a whisper. "How do you love someone and just watch them maybe get hurt?" "You learn the difference between their journey and your own," he said gently. "Your job isn't to pave the road. It's to walk beside them and help them up if they stumble on their path." The advice was sound, but applying it felt impossible. She ran into Rachel at the grocery store, who mentioned, awkwardly, that Laura seemed a little down lately. Amelia just nodded, her new passivity feeling like neglect. She was trapped between two selves, the one she knew, whose love was active and intervening, and the one everyone seemed to want, who remained politely on the sidelines. A week after the luncheon, Laura called. "Can you come over? There's something I need to talk to you about." Amelia's heart froze. This was it. The demotion. The official end. She drove to Laura's house, her hands clammy on the wheel. The familiar porch, with its hanging ferns, looked like the setting for an execution. Laura answered, her face pale and serious. They sat in the same living room where Amelia had pretended to sleep. The afternoon light was the same. Everything was the same, and everything was different. "I have to tell you something," Laura began, twisting her hands. And it's going to hurt you. And I'm so sorry. Amelia braced herself. Just say it. I overheard you talking to your dad on the phone last night. On your patio. My window was open. Laura's eyes filled with tears. You were asking him how to love someone without smothering them. You said you felt like you'd failed as a friend. The revelation turned Amelia's world upside down. The hunter had been seen. The listener had been overheard. I put it together, Laura choked out. Your distance this week. The way you've pulled back. You heard me talking to Rachel after the luncheon, didn't you? Amelia could only nod, the truth finally breaking free in a single, ragged sob. The dam broke. Through tears, Amelia confessed it all to feign sleep. Every painful word she'd absorbed. The devastating feeling of realizing her love was a burden. I thought I was building you a perfect day, she wept. But I was just building my own perfect prison for you. Instead of defensiveness, Laura's face crumpled in shame. Oh, Amelia, no. I'm the one in prison. A prison of my own cowardice. She explained her fear of disappointing Amelia, of not living up to the flawless vision her friend had for her. You remember everything. You execute everything perfectly. How do you say? That's not what I want. To someone who's moved heaven and earth for you. I felt so ungrateful. So I talked to Rachel instead of you. I betrayed our friendship the moment I didn't trust you with my real feelings. It was a stunning, painful moment of mutual vulnerability. The conflict wasn't between a villain and a victim, but between two people who had let fear and assumption silence their truth. Amelia, for the first time, saw the pressure her perfectionism created. Laura saw the cowardice in her silence. Then, Amelia did the hardest, kindest thing she had ever done. The Napa deposits, she said, wiping her eyes. I'll cancel them. All of them. There will be fees, and I don't care. You tell me what you want. A lake house, a campsite, a weekend in pajamas here. Anything. And I will show up with zero plans. I will just be your friend. The conversation lasted for hours, moving from tears to painful honesty to the faint, fragile beginnings of understanding. They dissected years of interactions, times when Amelia's help had felt like a takeover. Moments when Laura's gratitude had been a mask for resentment. I think, Amelia said slowly, as dusk painted the room in blues, I've been loving the version of you I thought needed protecting. Not the strong, amazing woman you actually are. I was stuck in a story where you're still the girl who needed me to speak up for her. Laura nodded. And I was stuck seeing you as this unstoppable force of nature. I forgot I could just say stop. I forgot you would listen. They realized their friendship had become a series of scripts, performances of who they thought the other needed them to be. The luncheon hadn't been an act of malice by Amelia or ingratitude by Laura. It was the tragic culmination of two people not trusting each other with their authentic, imperfect selves. Forgiveness did not come in a single sweeping moment. It was a choice they made again in the days that followed. Amelia canceled the Napa trip, swallowing the financial loss as the cost of her education. Laura, tentatively, asked if they could look at lake houses together. The wedding planning continued, but the dynamic had fundamentally shifted. Amelia learned to ask, do you want my opinion, or do you just need me to listen? Laura learned to say, actually, I was thinking of something different, without a flood of guilt. It was awkward, like relearning a dance. Amelia had to sit on her hands during a meeting with the florist when Laura chose a simpler, less Instagrammable arrangement. But she saw the genuine, unpressured delight on her friend's face, and it felt like a truer victory than any perfect peony could have been. The new bachelorette was at a rustic cabin on Lake Lanier. Amelia brought a novel and her swimsuit. She participated when invited and stayed quiet when not. She watched Laura, relaxed and laughing, surrounded by her friends, and felt a profound peace. She was not the director of this joy. She was a witness to it. It was a far more beautiful role. On the day of the wedding, Amelia stood beside Laura as she prepared to walk down the aisle. The dresses were simpler than originally planned. The flowers were seasonal, and a sudden rain shower had forced the ceremony indoors at the last minute. Nothing was perfect. Everything was perfect. As she fixed Laura's veil, their eyes met in the mirror. "You look so happy," Amelia said, her voice thick with emotion. "I am," Laura replied, reaching back to squeeze her hand. "Because it feels like my day. And you're here, just as you are. Not as my planner, as my best friend." During the reception, as they danced under twinkling lights, Amelia felt the weight gone. The compulsive need to manage, to perfect, to control had been replaced by the simple, profound act of being present. She saw now that the deepest form of love was not in crafting a flawless experience for someone, but in granting them the sacred space to craft their own mess. Mistakes and all. The moral was not that she was too much, but that love requires calibration. That the strongest bonds are forged not in flawless execution, but in honest communication and the courage to be imperfect together. She learned that sometimes the most generous thing you can give someone is not your solution, but your silence. Not your plan, but your presence. And that a friendship that can survive the truth, the heard and the unheard, is the only kind that's truly perfect.